Hi, thanks for joining me for another episode of Mayes County Master Gardener video blogs. Today we're going to talk about soil amendment or improving your soil. If you live in northeast Oklahoma, the chances are pretty good you have a clay vein running right through the middle of your garden. Most of us do. So instead of working around that clay, we're going to teach you how to work through it. And the good news is you can use most of the things you're probably already throwing in the landfill. So good gardening depends on good soil. That's really the bottom line. And so we're going to show you how to turn what you have into something better. Join us. Organic matter is decaying plant and animal debris. And by animal debris, what we're really talking about is manure. It also includes compost, leaves, grass clippings, and kitchen scraps. They all help enrich and loosen the soil. They improve drainage, hold moisture, and hold in nutrients. Adding it to your soil provides a great environment for earthworms, and earthworms provide a great environment for your plants. It also creates beneficial microorganisms. During decomposition, nutrients are released into the soil. What a great way not to put all of that yard waste into our landfills. You should avoid putting uncomposted material directly into your garden. It may rob your plants of nutrients while the soil works to decompose the material. The next thing we want to talk about is mulch. It's used as a ground cover around and underneath your plants. It helps retain moisture, it reduces the spread of some diseases, and it certainly helps reduce weed competition in the garden. Some mulches are decomposed material, and others are man-made materials, like the black landscape fabric that you often see. I like to use straw in my garden because it's organic matter, and at the end of the growing season, all I have to do is pull up the plants and till the straw into the garden, and it helps amend the soil for the next year. If you're going to use landscape fabric, be careful that you install it correctly. Otherwise, your moisture or water is going to sit on top of the fabric and not drain through to get to the roots of your plants. So let's get to what I really want to concentrate on in this segment, and that's composting. Composting is an oxygen-requiring process of decaying organic matter. There's two different ways to compost: fast or hot composting, and it can be accomplished in just a few weeks. And that's kind of what we'll be concentrating on in this video. The other is slow or cold composting. It takes a lot less effort, less material, but it can take several weeks to several months to accomplish the exact same thing. There are 4 things needed for composting. The first is organic matter. The second, microorganisms or good bacteria. Then moisture, and finally oxygen. We've already talked about organic matter, but a few things to be mindful of when adding yard waste. Don't use clippings that have recently had pesticides or herbicides applied. Don't use meat or cooking fats because they will attract scavengers and smell really awful in your compost. Avoid noxious weed seeds because if they're not destroyed during the decomposing process, you're just going to spread their love in your garden. You'll need a mixture of brown, carbon-rich materials. Fallen leaves are the easiest to come by. You'll also need nitrogen-rich materials like grass clippings. The grass clippings will move from nitrogen-rich to carbon-rich in just a short time during the decomposition process, so it's important to continue adding nitrogen-rich material like kitchen scraps during the composting process. Shredding waste into smaller pieces really quickens the process, so if you have a leaf mulcher, it's best to mulch those leaves before you put them in. I wanted to show you a few ways we compost here at the house. The first one is this 50-gallon drum that we bought from Claymart. Remember, you need ventilation, so we added these vents, one to each side, and every 3 to 5 days, we just kick it around the yard to keep it aerated. The other compost bin that we have is this store-bought bin, and we bought it, I don't know, Amazon, Walmart, they all have them. They run about $100 to $150. It's, of course, more expensive, but it's a little bit easier to manage because you just come out here and turn it, and this is full, so it's really heavy. You just turn it every once in a while. You can, if it's not moist enough, open this for rainwater, and if it gets too wet, you can open it again and make sure that the water evaporates out to get it to the right consistency. The third way we compost is in-ground composting or cold composting that we talked about, and literally that is just piling up the leaves and the yard waste and coming out and turning it every once in a while. It is cold composting. It takes a lot longer, but it takes less effort for sure. So next week we're going to talk about soil testing, and what is so cool about composting is when you get your soil results back, if there's something that your soil is lacking, like potassium, then you can add fireplace ash to your compost, and it's going to amend your soil to exactly what you need for the next growing year. I always try to leave a little of the composted material from the previous batch into the current batch because that adds the necessary microorganisms to get the new composting batch started. In order to kill the weed seeds, insects, and disease, the compost pile should reach a temperature of between 130 and 170 degrees at the center. When compost is done, you'll know it. It's a deep, rich brown color. It's cool to the touch, it smells sweet, and it'll crumble under touch. We should mention here that you can buy ready-made compost for your garden, but I promise you, it's just not the same. Thanks for joining me and hanging in there to the end. Join us next week for some tips and tricks on the home garden, including soil testing. Hope to see you then. Bye.